I titled today's devotion, God's Book, and we're on day 316, and we're on November 12th. We basically have a month and a half left of this year, and recording all of the things regarding my devotional, Rinse, Reflect, Repeat, and we are getting close to, after walking through the Bible in a year, repeating everything. If you're wanting to go on that journey, or if you started late in the journey, you will have all that you need to finish the Bible in a year, or just do any other kind of devotional type of aspect, or just listen to me every single day as we walk through the Bible again. The morning rinse today, if you were wanting to do that, is Psalms 139 to 141. And the featured verse today is Psalm 139, verse 16. Your eyes have seen my unformed substance, and in your book were all written the days that were ordained for me, when as yet there was not one of them. Have you ever looked at your life and accepted the fact that God has purposefully chosen you for important missions to further his kingdom? Have you ever looked at your life and just known that? When we walk in him, we are walking out that ordained purpose. I'm going to say that again. When we walk in him, we are walking out that ordained purpose. And when we are guided by his voice and walk in obedience, every appointment that we have is divine and written in his book before we were even born. And, there's a guy who talks a lot about this. His name is Robert Henderson. I call him Pastor Robert Henderson because in my mind he is a pastor. He's kind of an evangelical minister basically, but he teaches a lot about the courts of heaven. If you've not seen him on YouTube, you really should look him up. Robert Henderson. And he gives a lot of teachings about the courts of heaven. And when he talks about the courts of heaven, he talks about the book that God has written for all of us. And one of his children or grandchildren, I can't remember which one, asked him if God knew him or where he was at before he was born. And, Mr. Henderson, Robert Henderson answered, "You were in his mind. And God had written a book about you." And that's so cool because he wrote this book before we were even born. Think about that. God has a book with our name in it, and he wrote it before you were even born. And he has already blessed our way, and it is not only written down, but the path is already prepared for us. That's why it says he goes before us, and he's already made that way ready for us to walk on. Doors are in front of us to be opened if we let him if we let him guide us. He will guide us when we walk in him, when we sit, when and what we speak, how to go about our life, and even where to live if we allow him to guide us. He has even sent an angel to help keep us on the path that he has prepared for us. And we can read that in Exodus 23:20. So how do we walk out what God has written in his book about our life? Well, the way that we do it is we simply obey his word, and we listen to the still small voice that warns us when we are about ready to do or say something that we should avoid. And our name is in his book. This book is different than the Lamb's Book of Life. This is a book that's about our life. And our name is in his book with a plan for our specific purpose, for our lives. And he wants us to succeed in that plan. So today's challenge to dig deeper is to read Psalm 139 again, and then look up a few more Bible translations of verses 16 through 18. So if you like a specific translation, well, I want you to look up a different translation, and you can go to the YouVersion app to do that, or you can pull out, maybe you might have a couple of versions of different versions of Bibles in your house maybe, or you might have a comparison Bible or whatever, but specifically compare Psalm 139 verses 16 through 18 and look up several different versions of that. One translation that I particularly like for this passage is the Passion Translation. And so just soak in the fact that God values you and wants you to fulfill a great assignment. And then stay true to your purpose and live out today knowing you are written in his book. And some people will say, well, how do I know what my purpose is? Some people, you automatically know what their purpose in life is. They are walking it out and they completely know what it is. And then other people might not necessarily know what is that exactly my giftings or what is my purpose in life. Well, I divert back to Robert Henderson because he talks about this a lot in his videos, and then when he speaks at different churches, he talks a lot about this. And one of the things that he says is, okay, well, first, look at your body and look at your physical attributes. And if you are, 6.5 feet tall and have big hands and you run like a Speedy Gonzalez or whatever, and you love basketball and you've been excelling at basketball, it might be that God's going to use basketball for his purpose and for his kingdom. And he even compares himself to that. He's like, I'm not a basketball player. I'm 5'10", and so therefore what's not written in my book is to play basketball and to be at the excelled level of that. So look at your body, first of all. Some people clearly have a body that is conducive for a specific sport maybe, or a specific purpose or so. And God's going to use that. If we let him, he'll use that specific gift or that calling or that sport or whatever it is for his purposes and for his kingdom. And other people might love doing something different. He shares the story of his wife, and his wife came to him one day and said, look, you know exactly what you're supposed to do. You're writing books and speaking, and that is your calling, your purpose, what God has fulfilled for you. But what am I supposed to do? What is that? And he immediately knew, because his wife is an absolute genius at decorating. And he talked about how that her decorating style and her decorating skills, she has the ability to open up a business and launch some really cool things around that gifting. And so you never know what it is, but look at your passions. Look at the things that you love doing. Look at the things that you do that you just automatically think that anybody can do it. It's that kind of a gifting. And I'm kind of that way when it comes to acting. In a way, it kind of comes almost easy for me, natural for me. And while I'm honing that skill, it's like there's something in my mind that's like, well, anybody could do this. Like, it's so easy. I might not necessarily be an Oscar-winning actress, but I've been in commercials and Christian film, and so that's how God's used me with that. The same thing with working with people and selling real estate. It's like God's used that for me, and speaking. And so look at your life with that. What comes natural? What comes easy? What comes just so flowing and out of you? That, according to Robert Henderson, that is what God's, potentially that could be what is written in your book. You don't have to necessarily, grieve over not knowing. Just look at what you love doing and look at what you're passionate about, and that could be very well what God has called you to do and what is written in your book. And I love that God's using that for all of us. We all have this written down, and it makes me giggle because I just love knowing that God wrote about me before I was even born, and before I was made into a little baby that got birthed, before I was born, when I was in my mother's womb, and while I was being formed from the sperm and egg after I got conceived, God knew and wrote down. And it just is really cool for me to know that, and for you as well. And so I want you to, again, read Psalm 139 again and really hone in on verses 16 through 18 and look at various different translations and really soak the fact up that God values you and wants you to fulfill a great assignment, and really soak that up today in your walk. And just, I want you to relish that all day long, like really knowing that you have a purpose, and to live that out today, knowing that you are written in a book. And tonight, when you pull out your journal and you are reflecting on all of this concept, did you get a deeper revelation today of your purpose as you were walking out today and maybe talking about your book with God? Or even, did you get a deeper revelation of the fact that you were meant for an assignment, and that assignment could be very well specific assignment? And so once you realize that, how did it make you feel? How did you respond to that? Did you get, did you get an increase or an elevation of faith? Were you excited about what you learned today? Or did God talk to you specifically about some things regarding your book? I hope so, and I believe that that would be the case, and I'm believing that that is the case for all of us. And so as you are, we're ending this year, and we're coming to a close of 1 year and getting ready to start a new one, and we're starting to get close to the Thanksgiving time and the celebrations of that. And it's always interesting how that when we close out 1 year, there's a lot of vision for the new year. And so start churning that into, God, help me to fulfill the purpose, the things that you have written in my book, and help me to have that vision for my life. Help me to, embrace that, because next year is going to be amazing. And I pray that the next year in your life is going to be the best year you've ever had. And I just pray that we even dive deeper, even get all in to the purposes that God has for us, and that we can live it out more effectively and embrace this concept even more, this belief more, and be, have the vision instilled into us even more than we did before. And I'm just praying that over you and over me and over anybody who listens or watches this online. I'm just believing that for all of us. And if you do not have my devotional, you know that you can get it in the show notes, as well as the devotional journal, the companion journal that goes with it. Remember, that journal is a standalone journal, and it's not one that you can just pick up and understand the journal. You have to know that it's a companion journal for my devotional. So I hope that you are enjoying this. And also, if you have my devotional and have not given me an Amazon review, I would love it if you would go give me a review on Amazon. It helps my viewers, and it helps the people that futuristically want to buy it or consider it. So go to the journal, or not the journal part. You can give me a review about the journal as well. That would help me out. But the main part is the devotional on Amazon. So if you have it already, great. If you don't have it, there's a link in the show notes, as well as a link in the YouTube description below. And until tomorrow, keep rinsing, reflecting, and repeating. God bless you.